You need to have real life examples of how you help navigate both your buyers and sellers through difficult situations so that when it comes up to, okay, why should I pay you? Why shouldn't I just go and meet somebody at an open house, a listing agent, and just sign for the house? Then you really need to be able to explain, hey, this is how I've helped people in the past. Hey friends, I'm Rosemary Lewis, your homegirl, and I'm so excited that you are here. I do not care what it looks like on Instagram or HGTV. This whole being a realtor thing is not for the faint at heart. In 2017, I quit my job as a teacher to follow my real estate dreams and quickly found myself overwhelmed and struggling. Fast forward to today. Not only have I been recognized as one of the leaders in our industry, I have actually grown a business that I absolutely love. I don't care if you're a brand new agent trying to figure out how to get started or a veteran feeling overwhelmed and just stuck. I was just like you, and I totally get it. Many times I wish there was someone that I could just talk to about all the challenges I was facing. And that is why I created this space just for you. Like best friends do, I'm giving you all the tea related to navigating and thriving in these real estate streets. If I can do it, guess what? That's proof that you can too. Everything's better with friends, so let's succeed together. Welcome to the Real Estate Bestie podcast. Hello there, bestie. Welcome back to the Real Estate Bestie podcast. I'm here, your real estate bestie. And listen, today we are going to talk about when this thing called real estate will test your gangster and your Jesus. Like, it tests every ounce of professionalism that you have. And I'm going to share something that happened to me, y'all, just last week and how I was able to navigate through it with these here real estate deals. But before I get into that, I have to tell you something that I haven't shared with you just yet on the podcast. So I'm really excited because we are taking this real estate bestie show on the road, and we are going to do our first mastermind outside of Texas. So for you, bestie, if you've been rocking with us for a while, then you know that we recently did the Real Estate Bestie retreat. That was in April. We have done just different things. Last year we had a birthday party, mastermind event, and I've done a couple little small meetups, but it's all been at my home base. And if you are listening, you don't really know where I'm located. I am in the far north Dallas suburbs is where we serve. I serve like Collin County, Denton County, things like that. So primarily everything that we've done real estate bestie related has been right in our own backyard. But what I understand is that there are besties from all over that are like, hey, we want to be a part of this. And we just wanted to think through how to make it most accessible to you. So we are headed to, drumroll please, Charlotte, North Carolina. We are headed to Charlotte on September 20th for a one-day mastermind. Now, we are going to make this a more intimate event because I want to really not only, our whole purpose of this event in Charlotte is to help you finish 2024 strong, because listen, there is plenty of time for you to put a lot of numbers on the board, but also like catapult you into what 2025 is going to look like and just give you a lot of strategies and tips, like actual actionable things to what do you want to do? You want to get more deals closed, right? You want to attract the right clients into your pipeline so that you can make more money for your family. And we are headed to do that. So if you are somewhere near Charlotte, right, if you can get there, I don't know if you got to get there by airplane, if you can drive there, we just want to make sure that we are touching the besties. Head on over to rosemaryLewis.com/mastermind. I feel like we have about 20 tickets left as of the recording of this podcast episode. I'm recording it in the beginning of August, and this is 2024. So get on over there, y'all, because it is filling up fast and we're excited to do it. So, all right, let's get into this topic of today. And I want to bring this up for a few reasons because, you know, I think that there is such an unrealistic unrealistic sometimes perception of what it looks like to be a real estate agent. And I told you on the last episode, right? The last episode last week, it was episode, I think, I don't even know, child. Read it. Maybe it was 174, where I asked you, are you prepared for the change? And what I told you is that as we are, having different conversations about what our compensation is, we are preparing our value proposition. It is definitely time for you to start collecting your stories, okay? Start collecting your stories. You need to have real life examples of how you help navigate both your buyers and sellers through difficult situations, so that when it comes up to, okay, why should I pay you? Why shouldn't I just go and meet somebody at an open house, a listing agent, and just sign for the house? Then you really need to be able to explain, hey, this is how I've helped people in the past. These are the holes that I know to look for. And doing that through story is just a good way, right? Like even Jesus taught us in a parable, right? So in true fashion, like as soon as I tell y'all to start collecting your stories, boy, oh boy, did I get some stories from my own life. So last week, my husband and I, we did a little vacation and we went on a cruise. We normally don't cruise, but that's a whole nother story. We decided to do a Virgin cruise. It was pretty cool, adult only cruise line. But you know what they say, like as soon as you leave the country, as soon as you go on vacation, that's when real estate just goes like haywire. And I don't know why that is, right? But that is the truth. So definitely, I got some deals some listings under contract, new listings signed, like all this different stuff while I was gone. But I had 2 or 3 deals that were pending. It feels like, I know my assistant was like, girl, will you come back? Because it seems like things just went cray-cray while I was away. And one thing that happened in particular, so let me just set this up for you. So I was referred a group of buyers. They actually were sellers and buyers. So it was a buy-sell. And this was a referral that I received from a real estate agent, another real estate agent that I met at an event. Now I'm just going to pivot right here just to say, this is one of the reasons why I am always going to invest in going to professional events, like things that my brokerage has or different masterminds, like how I'm telling y'all to come to North Carolina. Not only do you want to get in the room so that you can engage and figure out what they're talking about on stage, but honestly, one of the best things is like, who else is in the room? Like I want to be in the room with people who are investing in themselves, investing in their businesses. And then it gives us an opportunity to not only become real life real estate besties, but we can collaborate and make money together, right? So there's a young lady who I met at an event a couple years, maybe it's about a year ago now. And when I met her, she was like, oh, great. I have a friend who's in the Dallas area. They had just got married. She's like, I don't know when they're going to be looking, but I know they have a house. Like she had a house before they got married. And they are definitely going to be looking. I'm going to throw your name in a hat. I don't know what that looks like, but I just know, like from our interaction, that you're going to take really good care of them. Fast forward to this year, exactly. She made good on her promise. I made good on following up with her. So let me just say that, like, once this agent told me that she had some friends that kind of sort of maybe were listening or would be interested in looking, she wasn't quite comfortable sharing their information with me then. But like I put her in my follow-up in my database the way I would if I would have met the buyer and the seller directly, right? So when I'm making my follow-up calls, I'm checking in with her, I'm checking in to see what's going on. And, we both made good on our promise. And at the beginning of this year, connected with them, all that stuff. We made a plan to get the house under contract, blah, blah, blah. So we got their house under contract. Ironically, when they were on vacation, their house got under contract. And then we went under contract for them to purchase a house, okay? So pretty clean contracts, but the negotiations, this is one of the, I have so many stories from this transaction, but let me just cue you in. So we first put a contract in on another house and my clients were paying cash. And this is something that I think you all need to pay very close attention to, especially in this kind of different market that we are in now, because what I am noticing about a lot of the listings, not my listings, but a lot of the listings that we're making offers on, is that they are not priced according to what's really happening in market, right? And I get it. We have a lot of sellers who are still, they haven't adjusted their mindsets to exactly the way market is presenting, right? And I'm seeing a lot of things that, you maybe might have gotten this inflated number 2 years ago, but right now, like, nah, it's a no. And, buyers have more choice now. So that's one thing that I would say. I have these cash buyers, and we were looking at homes within their budget, but when I really dug into the comps and the numbers and really helped them make the best financial decision, they definitely appreciated the fact that they were willing and able to pay the list price. But I was like, yeah, this house really ain't worth it. Like, I don't want you to be upside down. God forbid something happened, because I'm having that, right? I'm having people who did not anticipate needing to sell within 1 or 2 years, and now they are, the house isn't worth exactly what they paid for it, which is normal, like normal appreciation. But I'm like, hey, I want you to at least buy it right from the beginning. So we offered on one house that was like grossly overpriced. We offered a fair price. The buyer, didn't accept that price. And my clients asked me, like, honestly, Rosemary, what would you do? And I had to tell them, I think this one I would need to walk away from it, because what he is looking to get, the market just doesn't support it. And y'all, real talk, I would have made more money in commission if I would have urged them to buy that house, but it just wasn't a sound financial advice. And that's one story. Like, that's a story that I have in my back pocket where I can literally show another buyer, like, hey, I'm not just going to put you in something just to line my pockets. I want to make it make sense for you. So fast forward, we walked away from that house. We get to another house, and the other house was listed at $675,000. And I'm not going to say that it was overpriced, but I am going to say it was it's kind of a niche property and in a neighborhood where there was not a whole lot of activity. And had this been a finance deal, I could see an appraiser's opinion of value. I could have seen it going either way. Like, the appraiser could have said, hey, it's Gucci, it's good, or it could have been an uphill battle. And I was very, very strategic in how we presented my offer recommendation to my client. But I also told him, like, let's not play games, right? Like, I'm not about to offer, a really low number to go back and forth. Like, let's offer the number we gonna offer, stand on what we standing on, and just really get some feedback on what's going on with the seller. And doing your due diligence, like, I knew that we probably had a little bit more leeway with these sellers, because the first house we offered on, that buyer had only owned the house for a couple of years. I could see that they have financed, and quite honestly, for what the house was worth now, they would be upside down. Whereas these sellers, for the house that we ended up purchasing, I looked at tax records. Y'all just do it. A quick little research can go a long way. And I told them, like, hey, I can't tell you what they will ultimately accept, but what I can tell you is, when I'm looking at the tax records, it looks like they've owned it for a good deal of time. I imagine that they have, at least this amount of equity. I don't see where an additional lien has been taken out against the property. So all of this went into our thought process, established rapport with the listing agent, all of that. So after negotiating, we were able to get the house down to $25,000 off of list price. And now it's time for us to get our inspections during our option period. Well, long story short, friends, during the inspection period, the sellers, like, this is one of, like, it was crazy, because the sellers, a lot of the things in the house were functioning, but they were at the end of their lifespan, like the AC and the roof and things like that. But I get it. And I prepped my clients to say, listen, like, the seller, they made no promises to us that these things were newer. It's not like they lied. Like, we knew the age of these things, and they really, like, I don't want you to expect them to replace stuff just because it's old, okay? But I want you to do your due diligence, make sure that we can get, the roof insured and all these different things. But, I prepped my buyers for the fact that just because it's old doesn't mean that it has to be replaced, but we want to really stick to things that are not functioning, things like that. So we were able to negotiate, there were some things that came up on the report that mattered. They mattered a lot to my buyers. And we were able to negotiate some money off the sales price plus a major repair. Okay, stay with me. We negotiated a major repair. Everything's all good, right? And when we negotiated this major repair, we actually it was an HVAC repair. So we got the regular inspection report, every single time on the regular inspection report, what does it always say? That you need to have the HVAC service. My clients had just went through like a crazy HVAC thing on their personal home. So they wanted to have their HVAC company come out. Their HVAC company came out, took a look at it and said, actually, it's a bigger issue than just servicing. They gave a recommendation. We gave that recommendation to the sellers. The sellers initially didn't agree with it, but they said, hey, can we have our HVAC company come out and look at it too? Their HVAC company out to look at it, and lo and behold, they were like, okay, yeah, we agree. We'll make the repair. Cool, right? Cool. Everybody cool. This is easy. Like, I'm a rock star. I done got $35,000 off of this house for these people. And what I tried to do, let me tell you something. This is I shouldn't even say try, but what I have attempted to do is, like, before I was going on this vacation, I wanted to like put everything in as neat of a bow as I could, right? So making sure that the repair amendment was negotiated. Everybody needs everything that they need for closing. I'm thinking that it's going to be easy selling for the next week. My assistant can handle the things while I'm out. Cool. Until it wasn't. Okay. Y'all. Literally, I think I got on a boat on Sunday, Monday. It was probably Monday morning or Tuesday morning. The agent sends me an email, and the email pretty much said, hey, new development. We had a different HVAC company. So not the company that they had come out, but when they agreed to the repairs. We had a different company come out. And that different company said, actually, nothing's wrong with it. So we want to remove this repair from the amendment. Okay. To which we're like, yeah, that's not how this is going to work, right? Because there definitely was something wrong with it. But you know what? Maybe we crazy. And honestly, my clients were very gracious because they're like, you know what? Let us send, like, let's see your report. We're going to send our HVAC company out again just to make sure that we're not tripping. And just for kicks, we're going to have them send somebody else different. So the issue was that there was a part in the system that was leaking. They tried to say it wasn't leaking. Then nobody opened it. It was a whole bunch back and forth. So we sent our company out there, but for good measure, right? I asked my assistant, hey, can you be there when the HVAC company is there? Because we have different discrepancies, and the seller's agent decided she was going to be there too. Okay. So they both saw the HVAC company, our HVAC company come. He showed them pictures. Nope, this is where the system is leaking. This is where this is happening. So my assistant calls me like, oh yeah, I think it's going to be like open and shut. Like, we saw exactly what is in fact leaking. It shouldn't be a big issue. So we emailed the agent like, hey, just want to confirm what everybody has saw. And we just want to make sure we're moving forward because closing was in 7 days. Well, y'all, long story short, I'm not going to bore you with all of the different variables in the story, but they sent another HVAC company who corroborated the second story. And I get an email. I get off this boat on Friday, and the email is pretty much like, hey, okay, so pretty much the sellers have decided that they're not going to keep going back and forth about this. So either you all can remove the repair request or terminate the deal, and we'll put the house back on the market. Excuse me, say what? Right? Because here's the issue with that. I have so many issues with that. My first issue is that the agent just sent an email, right? We're literally not even 7 days from closing. At this point, we're like 4 or 5 days from closing. This is a Friday. We're supposed to close on Wednesday. And like, you are just going to drop a bomb like that, which is honestly going to impact you if you have to put the house back on the market without actually, and we have been very communicative. Like, even though I'm on this cruise, I'm making phone calls. My assistant is making phone calls. So, I definitely could tell that at this point, the agent was over it. But unfortunately, her dismissiveness could have, it honestly, in my opinion, wasn't working within the best interest of her clients. And I could tell that her clients were starting to get a little bit annoyed. But the reality is that contractually, they had already made this commitment, right? So pretty much this kind of blanketed, kind of like throw my hands in the air up email could have honestly put them, like, I would have told them, like, hey, you all might want to speak to an attorney or something like that, because like reminding them of their contractual obligation and what are the implications, right? We're talking about like a $3,000 repair, but now if the buyer sue you for failure to perform, it could be way worse than this little repair. So listen, long story short, y'all, I am at the airport, or I'm coming back, and I'm looking at this email and I'm so annoyed, because when I tell you that it should have been completely cut and dry, but dealing with like the nuances of this, it really was like, girl, I need you to lead your people, right? And help yourself. Like, help me help you, because I know you don't want to put this house back on the market. And now you have a responsibility to disclose any material fact, every inspection that has happened with this property. It just doesn't make sense. So let me tell you something. I politely excused myself from my husband, and I was like, let me pick up the phone. And that's number one. Do not, besties, listen to me. I know that we live in a texting society. I know that nobody wants to have the hard conversations. I'm not telling you to pick up the phone and start arguing with somebody, but there is so much that gets lost in translation when we are using text messages and stuff like that, where if you just pick up the phone, it can negate a lot of confusion. And I'm definitely going to encourage you to start doing that. So I picked up the phone, but when I picked up the phone, okay, this is what you can't do, right? I can't get on the phone with this lady having hella attitude because she's sending me these ambiguous emails while I'm on my vacation, right? Like, y'all know what we can do. We can get all in our feelings. Like, I just ordered my virgin mojito and now I'm dealing with this, right? No. Even the cadence and how we are having the conversation with the other side, just remember that even in that, we have a fiduciary responsibility to always operate within our client's best interests. And I have definitely had issues before where I've been going back and forth with an agent and they've gotten so emotional that I'm like, dog, like what you are doing right here is not the best way to represent your client. And that's the way that I felt in that moment. Like, even though I was all in my feelings and I literally had to, like, y'all, you know, we're supposed to be praying about everything. I literally had to pause and be like, Lord, okay, what we ain't gonna do, like what I'm not finna do is when I get home tomorrow, I'm not about to go back house shopping with these people, okay? We are going to close this here deal, okay? So Lord, I need you to tame my tongue. I need you to go before me and speak for me. Not that I'm about to punk out, because honestly, I'm not. I'm about to have a very crucial conversation, but even in these crucial conversations, there is a way to do it respectfully and to do it in love. But I had to pause and center myself first. And I want to say that because I know sometimes, I know you, bestie, I know you be clapping back, right? You get so worked up and emotional. You take it personal. I know that he caught him in my face. No. Calm down. Okay. Calm down. Center yourself. Take a moment to think it through and come from a place of solution rather than like making the problem deeper. Okay. So that's number one. So notice I called her before I called my clients, because what I don't want to do, like when I call my client and I'm going to keep them updated on exactly what's happening. But again, by the time I call them, I want to let them know that a solution is already being worked out. So I called her. And right away, I ended up having so much empathy because I could just tell without her even saying it that, you know what, these sellers, this situation was like really like throwing her through the ringer. So it not that I'm not going to go to bat for my clients, but, you know, I came to the conversation with just a little bit more empathy. And I just started off like, hey, I can't say her name on the podcast, but I was like, hey, girl, I got your email. Like, now what? Like, come on now. Like, and I told her, I said, now from like, let me tell you what's going to happen. Me and you are going to work together. Like, I put her on my team. I said, we are going to work together and we are going to put our heads together to figure out how to get this to the closing table. Okay. Because we are 4 days away from closing. And what I know you don't want to do is you do not want to start over with this whole situation. Okay. We are too close to let it fall apart over X, Y, and Z. And by me saying that to her, because I imagine even her sending an email, like she's going off of her clients, right? She just didn't have no more fight in it. That's what I attained from the situation. But I was able to create an ally with her to say, hey, I know you're representing your people, I'm representing my people, but we are going to work together to make this a best case scenario for both of them, okay? And she said her piece, she said her piece on how they felt and all of this. And again, this is why you got to know the contract, right? I made it as non-emotional as possible. And it said, hey, I understand that they feel this. I understand there have been some discrepancies, but let's talk facts, okay? And the fact of the matter is, and pretty much the facts were, we gave you an opportunity to do your due diligence. You had a company go out. The company agreed with it. Y'all agreed to the repair. You don't get to go back, right? And I told her, I was like, and here's the thing. I cannot force your people to sign. You can't force them to sign, but we both have a responsibility to let them know what are the implications of them not moving forward and honoring what they committed to contractually. Just like I have a responsibility to let my clients know, hey, if the sellers fail to perform, here's my recommendation. And my recommendation isn't going to be just say, oh, forget it, let's go house shop and get your earnest money back. Like, there are legal implications, because now your client's failure to perform puts my clients at a disadvantage, i.e. they're going to be homeless next week because we selling their house. So long story short, we were able to come to an agreement. And I was, even with talking to my clients, I asked them, hey, this is what I attained. This is the part I don't think they're saying. I really don't think, I think what they're saying, and without saying it, is that they don't have the funds to make the repair, right? It's because it wasn't a $2 repair, it was a couple $1,000s. So would we be willing to, take a credit, take a concession, reduce the sales price, thinking outside of the box. And I'm really explaining the positioning to my clients, but that was after, right? That was after I was already in problem solving mode with the agent. Now this is when that couldn't happen, right? If I would have popped off at the agent, she would have popped off at me. We both emotional. I'm just that, and I'm believing I'm standing on what's right. She believing she's standing on what's right. Then guess what? We get nowhere for our clients, okay? But coming from a place of, number one, being respectful, being solution oriented, and really, helping and working with the other side. What the enemy thought, like he thought he tested my gangster, right? He thought he tested my gangster and my Jesus, but what he really did was he set us up for an even more successful outcome for my clients. And now it's a story that I get to put in my toolkit, okay? So always, why am I telling you all this? Because you have stories too. Now you even have my story, right? You have my story to share with, hey, let me tell you about one of my colleagues, right? And this is why you need an agent going for you. This is why, like, in the face of buyer agent commission, should you pay, shouldn't you pay? When you tell a story about how not only you were able to put $35,000 extra in the pockets of your clients, and actually ended up being more like 40 in the pockets of your clients, but also able to save the deal at the last minute, save them from heartache, save them from the stress of looking for something else, from being displaced, then it's like, oh yeah, this is exactly why, right? Because if these clients would have been working by themselves, they may not have understood what the sellers really had committed to contractually, because the way she presented it was kind of like, yeah, they almost like they got to choose to take away what they did. It could have put them in a not so favorable situation. So collect your stories and make sure that you're able to really point to, okay, this is how I provided value. Your value is not opening doors. Your value is not picking out paint colors. Your value is not, telling them, oh, you should probably do this or you should do that. Your value is really, really helping navigate through the transaction, because it could be an uphill battle, but how you conduct yourself, how you represent your clients, how you successfully get them to the closing table and beyond, that is what is going to solidify you as the go-to real estate bestie in your area. Okay? All right, I hope that this was helpful for you. And do me a favor, go ahead and share this podcast. Like, there's somebody who needs to hear this. Share this podcast within your real estate groups. And y'all, tell people about Real Estate Bestie. Like, don't be hogging the Real Estate Bestie community all to yourself. Make sure that you are growing and we are growing and we're letting other besties know, like, hey, all these changes are going down, but we are going to be so solution oriented that we're going to close more deals. We're going to make more money. We're going to attract the right clients. And we're going to live our very best bestie lives, okay? Hope that this was helpful. Love you so much. And I will talk to you next week. If you enjoyed this episode and you have a real life bestie that you think it would resonate with, y'all, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that share button because you know what? We are better together. Make sure you share the podcast, and I appreciate your reviews. I appreciate you giving me 5 stars more than you know. I'll talk to you next week.